Perhaps because it is the end of the year and I'm thinking about reflecting on the last year, this past year. But I'm in the mood where I want to talk a little bit about my late friend, the late great Dr. Samuel L. Blumenfeld. Sam, I had the privilege of conducting probably many hundreds of hours of radio interviews with Sam during his lifetime. He came to the radio station at Tufts University, where I first met him. I think it was like 1997, perhaps, when I was just starting out in radio. And we became fast friends. And Sam encouraged me to write. He got me writing columns, which eventually led to books. He is just a man who had a profound influence on me personally and on my belief system and professionally. And Sam is one of those figures that I think about all the time. I mean, I think, gee, what would Sam say? What would Sam do? I'm sure that Sam would have been absolutely ecstatic over the incredible and phenomenal election of Donald J. Trump as United States president. To me, this, he would have seen this as I see it, which is a revolution, almost a miracle, something that I almost pray for every day, and something that has the potential of really changing the way we see the world for the next generation, if not permanently, if we harness the essence of it. And I just wonder what Sam would say about so many things. He had such a profound influence on me that, and I know on others. And Sam is the author of many incredible books that I continue to refer to and I continue to read. Even recently, I mean, his big books, of course, are the NEA Trojan Horse in American Education, The Whole Language OBE Fraud, Is Public Education Necessary? The Crimes of the Educators, which was the last book he wrote along with the co-author Alex Newman. And his main focus was education. And in that capacity, he developed a thesis that is incredible. I mean, he shows that that this corrupt liberal establishment, what's euphemistically been called the Eastern Seaboard liberal establishment, they took the method of learning how to read English, which is phonics, because English is a phonetic language. It's a language made up of vowels and consonants that you learn at an early age or whatever age, to put together, and you develop a reflex that helps you learn how to decipher words and read. And Sam goes through a history of how the establishment, starting with John Dewey, the so-called progressive educator, replaced phonics, or tried to replace phonics, with this look-say method by which young people would be taught to read as if English words themselves are to be viewed as hieroglyphics, as pictures. And they would have memorized them. And the result has been a breakdown of literacy and an increase in various social ailments, starting with ADD and dyslexia and other things that Sam says are man-made. And that it was a deliberate attempt by this establishment to dumb down the country and to create, human resources as opposed to individual people who can think for themselves and think cognitively. And it was kind of a strange and unholy coalition between the far left, as represented by John Dewey, who wanted to create a one-world socialist order, and big corporate types like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, who wanted to create a docile workforce. And they knew that to do this, they had to break down a young person's ability to think cognitively and to create a dumbed-down population. And Sam devoted his life to studying this. He developed a phonics game, Alpha-Phonics, which has taught many people how to read. He was one of the pioneers of the homeschooling movement. He felt that the public education movement had become so corrupt that it was irredeemable, and that anyone with a child should pull their child out of the public schools and teach them phonics and other methods so that they could become self-sufficient, good Christian children and adults who understand concepts like sovereignty and independence as the founding generation meant it to be understood. And Sam was someone who was unsung. He went after the establishment in a way that I have not seen anyone else do. Even recently, in the research for my book on assassinations, which will hopefully be published early next year, my literary agent tells me that he'll know sometime in January whether the book will be published. I did 31 cases where someone was possibly assassinated, or they were assassinated, but who and why. And one of the cases I did was George Lincoln Rockwell, the American Nazi leader. And in the course of my researching what happened to him, and he was assassinated, but who he was, I discovered an unpublished manuscript by Sam where he lays out in infinite detail that Rockwell was a communist plant. He was working for the Soviet Union, and that he was there to discredit America, create division in the country, racial division, political division, and to weaken the country as a whole. I mean, this was when Russia really was involved with propaganda and subversion and collusion, if you will. This was back in the 1960s. And so I quote from Sam's manuscript, but it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, the man was, thorough in his research, eloquent in his use of language. It just reminded me of all the hours that I've spent interviewing Sam, some of the most incredible and most enjoyable hours of my life. I don't know if I'll ever meet someone like that again. I doubt if I will. So I just want to take this opportunity to remember Sam Blumenfeld on this second to the last day of the year, 2017, excuse me. And to appreciate Sam for the incredible contribution that he made to my life and to the lives of others. And that if Sam had been someone who was in the establishment, if you will, or someone who really was, allowed to be heard, his impact could have been much bigger. But of course, his enemies are those who are not loyal to themselves, let alone this country. They're loyal to something else, and they kept Sam suppressed. So I'm doing my small part here to try to bring awareness to people regarding this great man who has been one of the most underrated men, I would argue, in American history. So I want to thank you for listening. You can listen to archives of Sam and me on the air on my podcast, on my my various podcast sites. Just put in Sam Blumenfeld and you'll see what comes up. I was honored to actually host Sam shortly before he passed away on my television show at Boston Neighborhood Network, and that's available. I'm also going to be posting that today and tomorrow sometime on the Podomatic system. So you'll see that on iTunes and Stitcher. It's available on my YouTube channel. And I want to thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks so much and have a nice day.